So you'd sign it over. Would Chad make you sign over the paperwork before he gave you the cash?
No.
Oh, because he wants a reason to kill a man. Chad wants a reason to kill a man and feel it's just, because the Mormons can't just kill somebody without it being righteous.
Right.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me is my co-host, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Guten Abend.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. And at the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie takes to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all our information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, you can follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, tonight's film continues the trend that we've had recently, where it's been an international Shat the Movies. It wasn't even intentional. We didn't string these movies together. And when we plan them out like a year in advance, I don't even see them coming. And then each week I'm like, man, international. We've been to England. We've been to France. And tonight we're going to go to half of my family's, their homeland. We're going to Deutschland for one of our great listeners, Chris, and he asked us to go back to 1998 and review the experimental thriller, Run Lola Run.
If it's the Chris I'm thinking of, he's left us some rather saucy voicemails, and so I'm glad that he wrote this one in and said, "Dear Shat Crew, I thought it was about time I emailed you guys some thoughts on the upcoming Run Lola Run, which is my first commission and hopefully won't be my last. It's been a while since I first found you guys, about 2 years ago, if memory serves, and I'm happy to say your voices, your collective sense of humor, and good-naturedness and general zest for enjoying life through retro movies played an instrumental role in nurturing me back from a long and dark episode of alcoholism and depression, which is something I'll always be grateful for, and finding your podcast is one of the few good memories I have of 2022. So maybe I can give back to you guys a little by means of Run Lola Run, a highly experimental film from the late 90s set in then recently unified German capital of Berlin in its heyday of edginess and cool. I really hope it provides an interesting change of pace and setting and sound from many of the American movies you usually cover. It's one of the few German movies that were internationally celebrated when they came out. Keep up your amazing work, and I can't wait to hear what the Shat score for Run Lola Run will turn out to be. Best wishes, Chris."
So, Chris, as I mentioned earlier, I do have German heritage. I have family in Stuttgart. I've also been to Berlin. I was there before the wall came down. I love Germany, have not been back in a while, and glad that we could review this for you, and glad that we could be part of some kind of healing. You know, I talked to Gene a lot about how these movies and the interactions that we have, if I didn't have this, I don't know. I saw an article recently, Gene. They said that every adult man should have at least 2 days or 2 nights where they have male interactions with their friends and they do their things. You are my outreach, Gene. And the fact that our little outreach can help other people, it really warms my heart. So I'm happy that, Chris, you're with us, and we're honored to have you in the Shat family.
You know, Big D, there's that saying that the only 2 ways you live on after death is through children or creating things, right? And I always forget when I think about the fact that I've never written a novel, I've never done some great piece of art, my photography is mediocre at best, And I just think, wow, I've never really created anything. And then I always stop and remind myself, no, we did this. We did this. And we've done more than 400 episodes with the help of everybody. And as tempting as it is to do other things that are lots of fun with our time, whether it's sit and play Cyberpunk 2077 for 40 hours a week, or, just watch NFL all Sunday, whatever it is that we would do otherwise, spend 3 hours a night training jiu-jitsu, whatever. It comes back to the fact that it's making a difference means a lot. And Chris, that kind of sentiment, knowing that we did something for you, it helps keep us going. That and laughing my ass off at our own podcast, which, Big D, credit to you. The Betty Blue episode, I've been listening to it multiple times since you released it this week. Holy crap. I think it's your finest work.
Oh, I appreciate it. And anyone out there who's not seen Betty Blue, I don't blame you. I would not have seen Betty Blue if it was not for the commission and for Gene, the podcast. Go back and watch the movie, please, and then watch the film and trick a friend into watching it. And it was great fun. Like when I was editing that, it made me so happy. It filled me with joy. So I hope people can listen to it, because it's a very different movie than this film, but it's one I never would have watched without it.
Well, back to Run Lola Run. It is a 1998 German film written and directed by Tom Tykwer. The story follows a woman named Lola, played by Franka Potente, who needs to obtain 100,000 Deutsche Mark in 20 minutes to save the life of her boyfriend, Manni. The film screened at the Venice Film Festival, where it competed for the Golden Lion. And following its release, Run Lola Run received critical acclaim and several accolades, including the Audience Award at the Sundance Film Festival, Best Film at the Seattle International Film Festival, and 7 awards at the German Film Awards. It was also selected as the German entry for Best Foreign Language Film at the 71st Academy Awards, though it was not ultimately nominated. So, Chris, my history with Run Lola Run goes back quite a ways. And it's been a while since we've had one of these films that I got into through the music, but Run Lola Run is a movie I got into through the soundtrack a few years after the film had pre-released. I did not see it in 1998, but at clubs, I would occasionally hear that main track, kind of that riff that goes throughout the movie, though I Wish I Was a Hunter. I'd occasionally hear it in like LimeWire remixes that were passing around the internet. You just hear that beat or that woven into a mixtape. And eventually I had to know where it came from. I did some detective work and I discovered this movie. I watched a ripped copy, because that's what you did back then. And I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. And to this day, I think just visually and orally, it's amazing.
But I can think that back in the day, the more difficult the film was to get, you were probably like thinking, hey, we're watching definitely something edgy. Nobody knows about this film. I heard about it from a friend. And it was more of like the art of finding truly unique films. Today, we're spoiled. Everything everybody can see, everybody has access to, unless it is the 2-hour version of Betty Blue. Everybody can find anything else in the world. Me, I was watching like normal traditional films. Except for one summer, I was dating this girl who liked like art house films. And she was like, oh, let's go see this great art house film. And she took me, ironically, it was a German film, Europa.
Oh, wow.
It's about a Jewish young, like a boy. He's part of like a Polish family who pretends to be a young member of the Hitler Youth. So she's like, let's go see this. And I was like, okay, let's go see it. I was a fish out of water, Gene. I was not made for these films, but I went, and I thank her right now for taking me to see those. So that was my limited experience with German films until Chris wrote in and said, hey, can you guys go back and watch this? And since it was a unique film, he gave us a title, he gave us a link. The reason to go back, I went and pulled up the poster, and it says Fast Cash, Crazy Fate, and True Love. And I'm like, holy shit, Mila Jovovich? Yes, I'm all in for this. No, not Mila Jovovich, German language film, but this was my first experience with it. And coming off of like the month of International Shat, I felt better prepared for this film than I would have any other time. If this had come straight out of Con Air, I might not have been ready, Gene, but I feel like I got my sea legs. I've been fighting. I started off with little Monty Python. Okay, I got that down. I went from country to country. Internationally, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to head back. So, Chris, I hope we do this justice. And if I make fun of the Germans as much as I did the French, it's only because I love them. They're my people. Ich liebe Deutschland.
Well, put on your dancing shoes, listeners. It's time for the trailer. Manni, a bagman responsible for delivering 100,000 Deutsche Mark, leaves a train on the U-Bahn to avoid ticket inspectors before realizing he's left the money bag behind. He sees a homeless man examining it as the train pulls away and fears his boss, Ronnie, will kill him in 20 minutes unless he has the money. Manni prepares to rob a nearby supermarket to replace the funds, but first calls his girlfriend Lola, who implores Manni to wait for her and decides to ask her father, a bank manager, for help. So Big D, as you said, Run Lola Run is officially categorized as an experimental film. And in my opinion, it matches that description in a lot of ways. It mixes animation into the film quite a bit, wild camera arcs, just spinning around characters, careening all over the place. You get little character guides, which I'm sure you appreciated, getting all the names of everybody with their snapshots. And speaking of snapshots, you get those snapshot biographies, right? Where you can see basically how somebody's life plays out in like 4 Polaroids. Pulse pounding music. In a way, I felt like this movie felt more like a nightclub than a film, and I'm here for it. Listeners, I highly recommend, if you have the means and the legal ability, watch this movie on some edibles, crank your sound system up, and you'll have a lot of fun.
No, I will get into why that's a terrible idea. Do not do edibles. This is like a bad idea. Do not give people this idea. We'll talk about it later, but did you watch the dubbed version or did you watch the German audio?
German audio with subtitles.
Okay, great. That's how I did as well. And as someone who has suffered from ADHD for like 30 years, this film was a challenge. Multiple reasons. I distract easy, Gene. If I'm working at my desk and I can hear Emma in the other room, I have to close the doors. I cannot focus. So this movie starts off and I'm like, holy shit, it's in German. I go check out the audio tracks because I bought it on iTunes. I'm supporting the industry, Gene. And it says either Spanish or German. So I'm like, all right, number one, I got to watch the German. And the Germans, they're notoriously fast speakers. Everything is everything is intense. Everything is in your face. And I'm struggling right off the bat. I'm having a hard time. The speed of the dialogue and the experimental nature of the movie, the wild cuts, the wild flashbacks. I felt like I was having a bad trip, Gene. You said do edibles? No, I was struggling. I was a kid out in the pool trying to like signal to my parents, come and get me. I can't tell what's going on. I could not absorb. I had to read the dialogue while these cuts were going on. I could not read at the same time. And then you mix on top of that, Gene, the constant techno. It was like I was listening to Tiesto podcast, and I was running. It was doing everything I could to ground myself and focus.
I think it's much more the experimental nature of the film, like you said, than it is the speed of the film. Because, yeah, you weren't always seeing the speaker's mouth. The camera angles were all over the place. They often focused on objects like a telephone or something rather than the person who was speaking. So I could see that. But let's set the record straight here. Germans don't speak that fast. German was ranked 6th in a 2011 study with fewer than 6 syllables per second. That's slower than English, Spanish, French, Italian, and Japanese, which, by the way, Japanese are the fastest.
No, but you're not talking about like angry Germans. Angry Germans.
That's different.
Yes, angry, like panic Germans. They're fast. And I used to go when I would like jog nightly. There's like an ideal musical tempo that they say, like, if you're jogging, it's 120 to 125. if you're full out like effort, Gene, it is 140 to 145 beats per minute. I used to have a mix. It was like a techno mix.
Yeah.
And this, I felt like I was in a dead sprint. I was trying, I got to keep up.
Yeah, it's Run Lola Run, not Jog Lola Jog.
No, that's true, but I didn't stretch. Before I watched this, so I was absolutely struggling.
That's where the edibles come in. They stretch your mind, man.
I don't. Maybe at some point, but it gets a little too tense later. I could not. I couldn't do it. And we're introduced, like you mentioned. So we have the main characters. You got Lola, who's going to do a lot of running, and then you've got Manni, who is the boyfriend, and he's not a seasoned criminal. You know, I don't even know if this was like his first foray, his trial into like the criminal underworld. So maybe that's the point. He's new, he's not that good at it, and he's not that smart, but he keeps making mistake after mistake over and over again. It's as if he's almost destined to die. And I think that's what the movie's trying to tell us. First off, he's on the train, successful, he's got the bag, he's just got to get home. That's it. He forgets it on the train because he gets nervous about the ticket police. These are like ticket punchers. They work for like the mass transit. This isn't the SWAT team. This isn't the German Polizia coming to get you. He gets off the train. He sees that doors are open. How about you just say, hey, guys, I forgot my bag. Let me get my bag and then I'll pay for my ticket. Movie's over. No. Next dumb mistake. I got to get $100,000. Let me rob the local convenience store. Dude, what makes you think that this is a great plan? What do you think? The local like Kroger's or Publix, the supermarket has $100,000 in cash sitting around? He just makes mistake after mistake. You'd be better off. Ronnie is the crime boss. This was his first foray into the underworld. You got a gun. Go talk to him. Say, hey, Ronnie, I fucked up. Here's the issue. Then Ronnie says, you have 2 hours to get me the money or I kill you. He doesn't even try that. 20 minutes? You can't do shit in 20 minutes. Every decision just ends up badly. And Manny's not that bright.
I totally agree on this point. He's an absolute fuck up. But I totally understand the instinct of hopping a train as soon as you see ticket inspectors. Like, it's a reflex for him, right? I think the real lesson is you got 100,000 marks riding on this operation. Your only job is to get it from one place to another. When you go to Europe, Big D, what do they tell you? Wear a money belt. Wear a money belt. You know what they don't tell you? Put $100,000 in a plastic bag. So when you get on the train, for me at least, I would put that shit in my clothing. 6 layers deep. Put it in your underwear. I don't know. Put it somewhere, not in a plastic bag in a seat. And then beyond that, if this whole thing, your entry into Ronnie's underworld is on this one job, you're going to count on a moped ride from your girl? A moped? Has this guy ever seen a moped? Like, they break down constantly.
How did he bring the drugs there? Was there no backpack? You can't go to Europe without a backpack, Gene. You need a backpack. He needed a backpack, and he needed not to trust why do you involve Lola? Does this look like a girl you could trust? Does this look like someone who's
come through for him
at
3 times at least?
Yeah, because she knows she fucked up. She knows she was late. She overslept. She didn't set the alarm. Whatever she did. But yes, there's so many mistakes that he constantly makes here that maybe that's it. Maybe this is survival of the fittest. He should have been either pinched by the cops or killed.
Maybe this is coming from Married Guys podcast here, but also like, I don't take girlfriend that seriously. If girlfriend calls me and says, you got to get me $100,000 or these guys are going to kill me in 20 minutes, I go, well, it's been great. Have a good one. This is why we're not married. Goodbye.
Yeah, it's good to know this before we were married. That's a good point, Gene.
Lola hangs up and runs down the staircase of her apartment building past a man with a dog. At the bank, her father is conversing with his mistress, who discloses her pregnancy. When Lola arrives, her father tells her that he is leaving her mother and that Lola is not his biological daughter. Lola runs to meet Manni, but arrives too late and sees him entering the supermarket with a gun. She helps him rob 100,000 marks, but they are surrounded by police who accidentally shoot Lola dead.
Okay, so I'm going to assume, Gene, that most of our listeners have not seen this, just like many of our previous foreign films. So I'll give them a quick overview. This is a Groundhog Day. It's going to be a looping set of events that I was not prepared for. You had warned me and said, this will be like 24. This is Jack Bauer minute by minute. And I'm like, shit, okay, I'm prepared. It's going to be, the movie's short. It's like it's like an hour and 20 minutes. So I'm like, it's going to be quick. We're going to get to see what's going on here. It's going to be a lot of running, obviously, because Lola, it's in the title. It's in the poster. I'm prepared. I'm prepared for Lola running. We see Lola running. And there's been a lot of famous running movies that we've done. Jason Voorhees, it's like a brisk walk, but he beats people to wherever he's going. You have Robert Patrick, the T-1000 in Terminator 2 Judgment Night, that sprinting, that tight, like crazy speed he's got.
Not so fast and Fire in the Sky.
No, but there he wasn't a robot. Here he's a liquid Terminator. He's much faster. You got Forrest Gump, who's got that, like, the upper body is calm, the legs are moving. It's like the ducks on top of the water. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath the water. Tom Cruise's crazy ass action superhero, that sprint he does, that is iconic. That is Tom Cruise. So I'm waiting. I'm like, oh, Lola, start running, girl. Get going. And it happens pretty much right away. Lola starts running. And she doesn't look like much of a runner. She's got like an angry runner style. She's not wearing like running shoes. She's got like Doc Martens. She's not wearing a sports bra. And she's running, and it's not very good. And I don't know how far she's run, but I was not impressed with the Lola running. You might have had that be part of the casting process. Okay, let's all line up and let's run. Lola would not have made the cut.
I don't think she's supposed to be like an Olympic sprinter here, but it's not that far, Big D. It's like a 5K. And like I'm slow as shit. I'm a terrible runner, and I can do a 5K, especially with as many breaks as Lola got, because she stops a couple times. But yeah. I think it's not a linear run. Like, if you look at the filming locations in Berlin, she's all over the place. Speaking of which, when this movie started, I thought, oh, this is going to be a nice postcard to Berlin, the way like in Bruges makes you want to visit Bruges, right? Like, oh, it's beautiful. No, Berlin looks way better than this in real life. And Big D, I know you were there before the wall came down. I went there in 2012, and it's certainly a more beautiful city than what we see in Run Lola Run. So we eventually get to the bank, which is Lola's first real destination. She needs to find her dad and ask for $100,000. And call me cold-hearted, but if my hypothetical daughter showed up and said, hey, I need $100,000 to save my boyfriend that you've never met, right, from being killed, it's a hard no from me. I don't know this guy. He sounds like trouble. I don't want you near him. I'm not going to give you money, especially if you're sweaty and disheveled. You look like you might have been on a drug binge for like a couple of nights. And I think it's really simple. Like, Lola doesn't know how to ask for money, because if I needed $100,000 real quick, I would tell my mom, people are coming to kill me. Okay. They're coming to kill me. And you said, like, you know, Manni making bad decisions. Why doesn't he go talk to Ronnie? Why doesn't he try other means? He knows someone's going to potentially kill him. It seems like a good idea to go to the cops, because the cops in this movie, they're there in like 30 seconds, and it's certainly better than dying.
Yeah, this is a cautionary tale for all fathers out there. If your daughter comes in looking wild-eyed and crazy and talking about Manni, who you don't know, it's the boyfriend, you never met him, yes, it's a bad idea. And he says, let's take you home. Let's talk about this. If you don't take your daughter home and deal with it, she'll probably go out and rob a convenience store with the boyfriend. This is what will happen. And he treats it pretty much the way I think a dad should. And the big question here, Gene, is the money. So it's 100,000 Deutsche Marks. So I went back, I did the math again. I like to do my due diligence on these films. So the equivalent is 175,000 US dollars in 98. Today, that's 138,000 roughly. So hypothetically, Gene, if I don't want to say you're involved in a drug deal, but hypothetically, someone in your family, Sarah, your mom is kidnapped, and it's not even like Ronnie said, you have 20 minutes or I will kill them. This is all hypothetical, but let's just say 20 minutes, you have to get $338,000. What would your strategy be?
I would call Chad, because there's two things about Chad. Chad is a millionaire.
Right.
And also, he really loves a good story and like an adventure. So if I called him up and said, we need $337,000 to pay these guys off and I got 20 minutes to get it, he'd be down.
No, see, but I know Chad enough. Chad would give you the money and then set up a tripod on the opposite street corner, and he'd be up there with like an AR-15, and he would try to get involved and set this up as like an ambush. So he'd end up getting your mother killed because Ronnie would come out there, boom, bullet hits the hood. They see Chad up on there. He thinks you double-crossed him. Mom is dead. Yes, you can't trust Chad. And I don't think Chad would ask, what is the return on my investment? You can't go to him.
At my house in Chandler.
So you'd sign it over. Would Chad make you sign over the paperwork before he gave you the cash?
No.
Oh, because he wants a reason to kill a man. Chad wants a reason to kill a man and feel it's just, because the Mormons can't just kill somebody without it being righteous.
Right.
Am I wrong?
No, I mean, but beyond that, I mean, I have other family members. I don't know if I get it in 20 minutes, but I have other family members. Like, listen, humble brag here, and I'm not talking about me, but my family, my family, like my mom's sisters and their kids, there's several millionaires in that group. It takes 4 phone calls at most. I get a buyer.
See, you're so full of shit because millionaires become millionaires because they're smart with their money. What is your story? What are you going to tell them?
My mom has been kidnapped and they're going to kill her.
But you don't know that. Ronnie didn't threaten to kill your mom.
Well, no, but that's the story I'm going to tell them. Listen, these people survived the revolution. They'll believe anything.
Oh, okay.
That's probably happening.
Oh, that I would believe.
I would say Saddam Hussein and Khomeini got together. They kidnapped mom.
Fuck, they might come out there with like the Mujahideen. Yeah. They're going to get out there and fucking shoot up the whole intersection.
Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
No, I would fucking martyr myself for your mother. I'd come out there and help to protect her. I would. Sweet. She's wonderful.
Could you get $340,000 in 20 minutes?
No, fuck no. 20 minutes? No. In 24 hours? No, not in 20 minutes. Nobody could get in 20 minutes. Impossible.
Well, it's actually funny you mentioned that because when the King Bee got his settlement from his dad's his inheritance from his dad, he was asking me, he's like, "Hey man, I think I go to the bank with this check for $150,000. You think they can cash that for me?" No, they don't have $150,000 in cash sitting around the bank. That's why I was like, "She's gonna get it from the bank? They got that lying around?" I don't think so.
No, I think 20 minutes is unrealistic. If anybody comes running in saying, I need $338,000 in 20 minutes, you're going to have to pump the brakes because that's a warning sign, just like it should be for Lola's dad.
Yeah.
It would normally raise red flags that it would at least stall you out to maybe like a couple hours before you could try to get this.
Well, miraculously, though, the store does apparently have $100,000. We don't verify that, but they're running out with the money out of the store. And they get surrounded by police because they're dickheads and they don't know how to rob a place. And they take forever to do it. And Lola ends up getting shot. And it's never okay to shoot a person who's trying to surrender under any circumstances. But I couldn't help but blame Manni for Lola getting shot, right? I don't blame the cops in this case. He involved her in a robbery after blaming her for his fuck-ups. Then the cops surround them. And we're not talking like Keystone cops. We're not talking about one guy with a revolver. We are talking like it looks like a paramilitary force. There's loads of them. They've got tons of weapons. They got them surrounded on all sides. And what does Manni do to surrender? Throws a bag in the air. They don't know what's in that bag. It could be explosives, it could be whatever. And these cops, again, like if you haven't seen them, they're painfully patient. I want to give kudos to the German police, okay? Because they've got 2 people who have already fired their guns in the grocery store, okay? Held people at gunpoint. And they're like, put your guns down. Put your guns down. Put your guns down. They are taking an eternity to put their guns down. I found it really hard to like Manni. I'm like, fuck this guy. He got his girlfriend killed.
Oh, 100%. But I think you could tell a lot by how the other police act. They're very professional. And the one who shoots, they all look at him immediately like, what are you doing? Was ist los? Was the hell? Achtung! They're looking at this one idiot who shot. And Manni, from the moment we've met him, he's whining on the phone. It's your fault. Why did you get Lola involved? Was this your great plan? Get your moped and come pick me up with my 100,000 marks? This is a bad idea. He's not a good dude. She's late. Boo-hoo. Have a contingency plan. Don't forget the bag on the train. That's not her fault. They're ticket collectors. This isn't the SWAT team. Own up to it. He sucks. He's a loser. Man up. I don't want to say like man up, but man, go to Ronnie, talk to him. It's on me. Don't involve Lola. Don't involve the family. Don't own up to it. Work your way out of it. Instead, he's just like, I'm going to stand in a phone booth and you come and get me and you didn't come in time. Shut the... I expected more.
Well, don't worry, listeners. Events restart from the moment Lola leaves the house. This time, the man with the dog deliberately trips her, and she runs with a limp and arrives late to the bank, allowing her father's mistress to add that he is not the father of her unborn child, Maury. A furious Lola overhears the conversation, grabs the security guard's gun, holds her father hostage, and robs the bank of 100,000 marks. When police mistake her for a bystander, she's able to leave and meet with Manni in time to stop him from robbing the supermarket, but a speeding ambulance that Lola had distracted moments earlier fatally runs Manni over.
So, dear listeners, when they say experimental movie, part of it means they don't explain what has happened. We don't understand why time has reset. This is not what is the Tom Cruise
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. We don't learn about the alpha and when they're killed and it resets time. For some reason, if you love somebody enough, Gene, you can just reset time yourself. If someone dies, maybe they can reset time. The mechanics of it doesn't matter. But right after it is reset, we get a loving, tender moment where Lola and Manni are laying in bed and they're talking. And it made me think about war games. Way back in the day, we reviewed it. And it's a strange way that my brain works. Okay, and they were in
bed having a romantic moment. It reminded me of war games.
Yes, because I can sense danger. I'm 50. I'm 50 plus. I can see things coming. I've identified patterns. In that movie, I learned as a young boy the concept of mutual assured destruction. The Whopper. The Whopper is going through iteration after iteration, running through scenarios, right? Where of thermonuclear war. And it finally says winner, none. And it tells Falcon, nuclear war. It's a strange game in which the only winner's move is not to play. Yes, as a 51-year-old man, I can see it. I can see it coming. They're laying in bed. They're having a romantic moment. And I know right away, it's danger situation. Lola's like, hey, Manni. She's like, do you love me? Manny's like, yeah, I love you. And I immediately think of thermonuclear war, Gene. The only winning move is don't play. Lola is baiting him because there's no winning answer. You can't win this game. Well, how do you know, Manni? Oh, I just know. I just know. Well, if it wasn't me, would it be just some other girl? Would you be saying this to any other girl? This conversation, Gene, there's no winning scenario. There's no where you invade Poland, where NATO defends Norway against the Russian sweeping attack. As an old man who has gone through plenty of this bedtime conversations, young men out there, when you get baited into the do you love me, just say yes, I do. And how do you know? Have faith. It's just like religion. Have faith. I can't prove faith. I just know it. I feel it in my heart. Don't entertain these questions.
But these moments give rise to poetry, my dear boy. Poetry, my friend. Listen, as a college kid, as an arrogant college kid, which I'm sure you went through this phase as well, I had a great girlfriend at the time, really wonderful. And we had a conversation sort of like this. And I was like, logical, right? There's billions of people on the planet. I'm sure that there is somebody out there that I get along with as well as or better than you. I don't believe in soulmates. We're fortunate to have found each other, and I do love you, but I can't say that you are the only one in the world for me. Don't ever say that, guys. Don't ever do that. And by the way, I was right. So If you're listening, Lindsay, I was right. But point being, though, is all you have to say is, I've never been here before with any other girl in the world. That's how I know. That's how I know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Manny's just an idiot.
Just leave it nebulous.
Yeah.
I love you. I feel it in my heart. Well, how do you
he
know
tries all of that.
But he didn't stick with it long enough.
Nah, he need to go another 4 rounds.
Go
or so.
another. She keeps pecking at it. She's pecking at it because she wants him to show conviction. And when he starts to waver, she jumps in.
So if you and Vanessa are in bed tonight, you crawl in after recording the podcast, and she says in a Brazilian accent, Richard, how do you know you love me? How the fuck?
most likely she wouldn't be saying that. She'd probably be saying, like, you were so loud. You and Gene were so loud. Keep it down.
We're loud with love.
It's 11:06 at night.
Oh,
She'd be like, put on your CPAP and go to sleep. That's the romance, I guess.
Why does she sound like an 80s sitcom wife?
I didn't say that. You did.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Well, while we're on the topic of dumb questions, there's a dumb question I had while watching this movie, and it had to do with keypads. There's a scene in this part of the movie where Lola takes the security guard's gun, she shoots the keypad, and it opens up like the secure area, the back of the bank. And it got me to thinking, like, why we always just accept in video games and movies, whatever, that shooting the lock will open the door. Surprisingly, it's a real thing. And not with like padlocks and shit. I do that all the time in The Division. You got to shoot the lock to get in. Padlocks will just basically break them. They stay locked. But keypads, particularly ones in Germany, they can be set to fail open or fail closed. And doors are usually set to fail open rather than failed closed. And it makes sense, right? So if there was like a fire and the fire fucked up the keypad, you wouldn't want the door to be stuck shut. Or if like there was an accident where somebody bashed the keypad on accident while they're like moving something, you wouldn't want people to be trapped in the back of the bank. So as soon as those things are broken, the door actually opens. So if you ever want to hack into a place and you got a gun, go for it.
And it makes sense. It's like, you know how they have those window tints now that if you provide a charge to it, they're clear, but you can also make them immediately frosted, right? But the default state is frosted. Because if it was a privacy window and the power went out, you would want it to be frosted. Or Emma was recently learning about the Titanic, that the watertight doors were default set to fall, to close. And it had to be held up because that makes sense, you know? But I was more bothered by the fact, as someone who owns firearms, they might have had like 1 or 2 blanks on set, because every scene when she pulls out the gun, Lola, and she's learned now how to turn off the safety, she fires a pistol, Gene, if I'm correct. When you fire the last round, the slide locks back, showing you, hey, you're out of rounds. You put in a new magazine, you close it, the slide goes forward, you can continue fire. It happens multiple times throughout the movie where someone fires a pistol, it locks open. And then Lola starts like pantomiming like this at the locking mechanism. I'm like, Lola, you're not firing. I can see the slide stuck to the back. But yeah, she shoots out this keypad. It opens, whatever.
Did you catch the cuckoo's egg part? Her dad goes, you're a cuckoo's egg. And I'm like, that might be just a German thing that you tell people. But it was bothering me like days after I watched the movie. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to look it up. Behold, Big D, I discovered a new thing in nature. Brood parasitism? Did you know about this shit?
No, what is that?
Brood parasitism. Like, so cuckoos and other birds, they go lay their egg in another bird's nest and make that bird raise their young.
That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. So so they'll go, I first read it. I was like, oh no, don't tell me that egg then hatches and that bird eats all the other birds. That's not what happens. But they do. Yeah. And the other birds, they don't know why, like scientists haven't figured out why, but they'll keep feeding and raising this other bird that doesn't look anything like them. The eggs look similar fairly, but yeah, they keep feeding them. And so this is where it gets really fucking fascinating, is that scientists have been coming up with theories as to why the birds do that. Some of them are like, well, they're just not that intelligent. They don't know the difference. Some of them are like, well, they just, they care for everybody's young, whatever. But the one that fascinated me was one that was the mafia theory, which is they're afraid that if they don't raise this chick, that the cuckoo's going to come back and fuck their shit up. Like that the other bird's going to be like, what the fuck, man? Like I left my baby with you. You're supposed to take care of it. I'm going to fuck your whole nest up.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that.
Isn't that great?
No, but like people, like if you've not watched the film, you will not take this into context. So Lola's running through. First, I got to go to Dad. Dad will get the money. She walks in and Dad is having the conversation, perfect timing, with the board member who says, hey, I'm pregnant. We've been having an affair. She reveals it all immediately. Dad then says, oh, okay, I'll help you. Takes her out in the hallway and walks her down and starts unloading on her. Immediately, the cuckoo's egg, he knows he's not the dad. He knows he's been raising Lola this whole time and decides this is the perfect time. I'm going to unload on Lola. 20 years of damage, 20 years of hurt. I'm going to get it off my shoulder. He gleefully says, listen, you and Mom, you guys got to go. I got a new girl here. She likes me. She loves me. She treats me great. And you know what? You guys like my money, but I want to be happy. So he takes her to the guard, says, bye-bye, kicks her out the door. I couldn't help but a little bit feel glad for Dad. Dad felt like gleeful to get this off because, Gene, there's a scene that we keep seeing Mom on the phone, right? As Lola runs out of the apartment. She is on the phone with another man talking about, oh, you're married, so am I. She's cheating. Poor Dad. Let that man free. Let him be free.
Wait, that was Lola's mom?
Yeah, they're in the same place. She says,
thought
hey,
she just was a neighbor with her door open.
She says, Lola, get me shampoo.
Yeah, because she's like a good neighbor.
No, that's Mom. That's Mom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I hope so. Regardless, Dad's not a good dude, but it was cathartic to let him release. I could not raise the cuckoo's egg. Never. No way. No, unless it was a mistake. Like, as I've talked about it here, like Emma was like a creation of in vitro. 6 years of in vitro. So I told Vanessa I want to do a paternity test to make sure because it's barcoded. Egg, sperm, barcoded mix. You don't know. It's simple. You could make mistakes, inventory.
Sure.
So Emma was born looking like the German, she looks like me, like, not like my Brazilian wife. So Vanessa became concerned and said, I'd never want to do a DNA test because she has concerns about whether there was a mix-up. For the fact that this man raised Lola, knowing, kudos to you, you manned up. I'm not as good as you.
Only to shit on her in her moment of need and then leave her mother for another woman that I thought was a dude. That's a very strong German face.
Very strong, very strong. Look like Christoph Waltz. Very strong.
Well, events begin again. Well, surprise, events begin again. Lola leaps over the man and his dog, arriving at the bank earlier, but not triggering an auto accident as she did the first two times. Consequently, her father's colleague, who is driving the car, arrives before her and takes her father away from the office. Lola now goes to a casino where she hands over all her cash and plays roulette with a 100 mark chip. She bets it on the number 20 twice in a row and wins 129,600 marks. Manni spots the homeless man passing by on a bicycle with his money bag. He steals back the bag at gunpoint and gives the homeless man his gun. Lola arrives to witness Manni handing off the money to Ronnie, and Manni casually asks Lola about her bag as the couple walk away. So, Big D, I thought Run Lola Run's exploration of whatever, the multiverse or the butterfly effect or the Westworld video game philosophy, whatever it is, it was fine in the second go-round. I got the point, right? Lola rewinds the call from Manni. Things go slightly differently as we run through the whole day one more time. And then the ending changes based on all the things that happen along the way. I have to be honest, Chris, in saying I did not need to see a third version of the events. And maybe if it were presented differently, like we didn't actually go through everything every time, I would have enjoyed it more. I was thinking about when Simon Pegg is going through his game plan in Shaun of the Dead, right? It gets a little faster each time, just the summary. This treatment made a short film, like you said, Big D. I think it's like under an hour 20. It felt kind of long.
So you're kind of doomed in the fact that you're going to do this repeating like action with it being minute by minute because you're trapped in that you have to re-show the incidents of what's happened in real time, and it becomes too much. And part of the mechanism of it is, beside what's happening to Lola and Manni, you start seeing these random people throughout the town that they run into. And every time she like bumps into them, you see it's like the camera flash about what will happen to them in their lives. And I started feeling bad because some of them, because she keeps resetting time, some of them go from like great happy things until like really bad things. You got the woman with the baby carriage, right? She's obviously angry. She hits her the first time. She turns around. They scream at each other. And then it turns out like maybe like Child Protective Services comes and takes the child away. The second time she hits her, woman hits the lottery. No, Lola's got to go a third time. She hits her. The woman all of a sudden becomes like religious, and that's not an upgrade at all. You got the guy on the bike who she's like, hey, you want to buy a bike? No. The dude ends up like getting beaten up, paralyzed. The woman at the copy machine, she gets hit, gets into a car accident, gets paralyzed, then chooses to kill herself. Then instead she reboots, has some kind of like bondage and sadomasochism, like a relationship with the cashier who's got like a strap on her. Like she is affecting all these other lives around her that I'm feeling bad for all of these people because you don't know how she's affecting their lives in all these twisted ways.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not her doing. Like, I think the point is that everything in life is a spin of the roulette wheel. And so every time you run through it, like these little things have big consequences. I'm not saying I buy into that philosophy, but I think that's the point.
See, like I'm thinking she is seeing these as well. That's kind of what I was feeling at the point. That these snapshots almost, because there's some realizations between the characters. There's a point like where I think Manni dies in round 2. And he's like, I'm not dead yet. And he's like, there's some acknowledgement of what's going on, the supernatural component of the film. So I always felt like that Lola knew, like when she hit the girl with the woman with the baby carriage, that she saw all these other options. So maybe you're right. That doesn't happen, but we get to this casino part where it's the end, where you got to come up with the money. I went back and I had to watch it again because the math doesn't seem to add up to me. Got to get 100,000 Deutsche Marks. She can't even scrape together. I think she got like 98. She then begs the cashier at the casino, says, hey, can you give me the 100? Fine. She says, you're not appropriately dressed, whatever. They get in there and she's going to bet on a number. She just picks a number. She bets 100 on it. And she gets a return, 1,500. So I was like, I think I'm wrong in my math. I went back and watched it again, Gene. Yes, it is $1,500 she gets back. So to my math, that's a 15-to-1 ratio or 15-to-1 odds return. She would bet the third time, get to 22.5 thousand. She would need to bet a third time to get to 338,000. The chances of hitting 3 consecutive numbers, is there some chance that this is like a Groundhog's Day, Gene, that she had run through multiple, like Ned Ryerson iterations of this? Are there only 3 or did more occur that we didn't see?
I mean, you could be right on that because she does seem fairly confident in that, but also she does that big screamy thing. I think she screamed it into the slot. It's what we're meant to understand. I don't know, but it's even more curious because in true roulette and in individual numbers, like 35-to-1.
Yeah.
So the 1,500 doesn't even make sense to begin with.
No, and I went back and watched it again to make sure. And since mine is the authentic, the iTunes version, I didn't question it. It was a 15-to-1, so I'm doing the math on it here. But and forget about the odds. We know casinos, Gene.
Yeah,
casinos like to make money. They like to control the odds. This girl comes in, hits the first one, bang. Okay. Pit boss is watching her. People see her. She's out there wearing her little tank top. She's been running. She's a little bit sweaty. After that second bet, there is no chance that she ever places that third or fourth bet to win without being walked out or talked to the manager. There's no way this happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, even if they let her do it, like they're going to have some questions. It's going to delay her from getting to Manni in time. But she does. and I'm glad that things worked out for Manni and Lola. Okay, like that's fine. But Manni did a thing that made me very nervous. As Lola's off at the casino, he robs the homeless guy at gunpoint, and the homeless guy's like, "Well, won't you at least leave me with a gun?" And he goes, "Sure." And maybe this was the director's intent to make me nervous, but I spent the rest of the movie waiting for this homeless guy to reappear, like Benny Blanco from the Bronx, right? And gun Manni down. Like, also, not all that money's there. Like, Manni, like, homeboy, clearly he spent some of the money. We know he bought the bike. He bought some clothes. He's out eating food. How you can explain that to Ronnie? You think Ronnie's going to be cool with you being a couple hundred short? That's not going to fly.
Well, I think he spent 70 Deutsche Marks on the bike.
Yeah, but he got clothes and he got food.
You give
a homeless guy 100,000 marks, you think he hasn't spent that already?
Yeah, I would have expected him to spend much more, without a doubt, 100%. But that's not the biggest like misstep. He sees the guy. The guy has his bag of cash. He starts running down the street. You know what you do, Gene? When you're chasing a person on a bicycle who stole your 100,000 Deutsche Marks that you need immediately to pay back Ronnie or he would kill you, you catch him first.
Yeah.
You don't scream, "Hey, you come back here." You're running. You don't give him a head start. You sneak up on him and be like, hey, come here. You throw him on the ground. You wrestle around. You get his bags. You take control of it. That's what you do first. You don't give him a head start. Guess what, Gene? Surprise. The dude on the bike escaped. He got away, and if it wasn't for the whole hijinks there, he never would have been caught, and then he gives away the gun. But we see the interaction later, which was important for us to see. Ronnie, we've been led to believe that he is this ruthless crime boss, but that doesn't match what we see. Manni goes into the car, gives him the cash. Obviously, like you already said, short money. Does Ronnie rough him up, hurt him, take him out to some abandoned warehouse? No. They walk out smiling, shaking hands. Everything is great. Pats him on the back. Maybe this was a big misunderstanding. Maybe he overthought what Ronnie would have done. Maybe a simple conversation in the car. It wasn't a big deal. Maybe Manni just overthought the whole process. Ronnie might have been in the car like, "Hey, listen, Manni, it's all right. This is our test. We're letting you in the gang. Everybody fucks up the first offer. You're all good. Don't worry." And then Manni comes out and is like, "Oh, dude, whew, can't believe I overthought that." Then you get Lola coming out with her gold bag full of cash. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" You know, maybe this was all a misunderstanding.
God, you just gave me the idea for Run Lola Run 2. Just when they lose the second bag. Like, oh no, we left it on a boat.
Oh, exactly. When the second homeless guy comes out and takes it.
Ah, Scheiße.
Oh, Achtung, baby.
All right, now's the time of the podcast we give our Shat score for Run Lola Run. Our Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's finding 100,000 marks on a train and getting a great deal on a bicycle. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster. It's fathering a loon like Lola. I'll go first. This movie is different. It is energetic. It is visually fun, and it is timeless. But conceptually, as we've discussed on this podcast, not a ton of depth. I wanted this time as an adult to find some underlying meaning, but I don't think it's there. I did appreciate German Bill Hader working in the bank. That was insane. And
that's the dude
finally,
with the strap on. That's the dude with the strap on. Yeah.
And finally adding something from the Fatherland into our library was a joy. Thank you, Chris, for that. I'm going 2 wipes on this.
I think you're far too kind. I was shocked. I went back and looked. This is the 93% fresh Rotten Tomatoes. I can't explain it. Maybe they were so starved for fresh content that this experimental German movie. Oh my gosh. Dude, I think we're stretching it here. We don't even explain any of the powers. I don't want you to break it down and explain every little nuance of the powers, but I want to know, first of all, was that dad in the ambulance at the end?
No, that was a security guard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, positive.
Okay. Did she heal him? Did she bring him back from being flatlined?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Well, either that or she soothed him into his heart going in, but I think it was meant to be like she actually healed him. Yeah.
Why are they doing CPR on a guy who's not flatlined? The guy had a heartbeat.
It was all over the place.
Again, Gene.
Yes, you're the expert.
Yes, as someone who suffered from AFib, I know about irregular heartbeats. You don't try to resuscitate somebody who has a heart. They don't even try to explain how anything happened. Maybe it's like a world where a multiverse, it's experimental, but it's 3.5 wipes. I did not think this was amazing. I'm shocked that it's 93% fresh. They may have been deprived for fresh content back then. But sad to say, I appreciate the commission, but I was not very impressed.
All right, with 2 wipes from me and 3.5 wipes from Big D, that gives us an average wipe score of 2.75 wipes for Run Lola Run.
So, Gene, with a score of 2.75 wipes, that now ties this with a few films that I feel it's a great spot. We're in the 249 spot with Robot Jocks, Notting Hill, and Rad.
Wow, rad.
We got Slow Dancing with Bikes. I'm okay with that. I think it's a good spot.
Each of those films is groundbreaking in its own way.
They're experimental, some might say.
Experimental. I mean, who knew you could make a movie about BMX bikes?
Slow Dancing with BMX Bikes. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris, for the commission. I hope you enjoyed the pod. And before we close out, I'd like to get to one voicemail. It comes from Mike Smith in England, and he's calling in about With Nail and I.
Hey, Shat crew. This is Mike Smith calling from England. I'm the guy who somehow managed to guilt trip another listener into commissioning With Nail and I through my sad tale of OCD and all of that loveliness. This is just a quick voicemail, and I hope you can play it out. Because my brother, who's also a mega fan, is getting married on the 27th? Next Friday, which is, I think, the 27th of September. And I was wondering if you could give him a little shout out and say the best of luck on your upcoming wedding. I hope it stands the test of time and all that loveliness that you do, but obviously in your own way. Things are more settled now, and there's a commission that my brother and I are hopefully going to get in the planning stage soon of, and that is the film Excalibur. It's my dad's favourite film. He's 60 next year, and we thought, let's see whether you'd be interested in doing something like that. And yeah, good to listen to you guys anyway, and I'm going to stop now before I start tripping over more of my words. So take it easy, guys. Speak soon.
Well, Mike, I wish you'd given us your brother's name, because that would be helpful in wishing him a happy marriage. But Mike's brother, congratulations. As a newlywed myself, I'm actually just past 1 year anniversary. I can tell you it is fantastic. I hope you are enjoying it. I hope you're on your honeymoon right now. Sorry we missed your wedding day by a few weeks. And With Nail and I was just released last week, so you can check out that episode as well, Mike, if you'd like to. But to your brother and to your father, best wishes to both of them. And I think I'd be delighted to do Excalibur.
So, Mike, if I can give a word of advice to your brother, I think I gave this to Gene. As someone who's been married now 21 years, I think, be kind. Don't be an asshole. You will be stressed in life. You will be angry. You will have... Don't be mean. Be nice. And people say, people a lot of times focus on the negative things. Focus on the little acts of kindness that your partner gives. Instead of focusing on, oh, my partner doesn't do this, she doesn't do this, or he doesn't do this. Focus on the little acts of kindness that show you love. And in the end, hopefully, whatever, it'll get you there. But as far as Excalibur, please make it happen. This was one of the first exposures I had to any kind of eroticism. Like Guinevere, it is iconic. I remember it. I've listened to podcast reviews of the film. It's iconic. I'm praying. Please make this happen.
All right, well, that sounds like a yes from Big D Mike, so we'll put it in the books. Get a hold of us at host@shatpod.com. And if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, remember, you can go to shatpod.com and use the SpeakPipe feature. We'd love to get you on the podcast. Speaking of the podcast, Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week, it's a very different film. When Terry loses her high school writing competition, she's convinced that it's because she's a girl. So Terry decides to change her high school and pose as a boy to prove her point. Her brother, Buddy, helps her pass as a guy so well that she is soon making friends with the boys at school, including the attractive Rick, who becomes her new best friend. But her gender swapping makes things difficult when she falls in love with him. Commissioned by Peter H., came out in 85, and holy shit, Gene, this is going to be a great one. It is perfectly timed. I remember this film. The poster is problematic. The plot is problematic, but is a perfect break from international Shat.
Guys, we're going to get another prom scene, big prom scene in this movie. And for you Shakespeare fans out there, you're going to love it. Well, thank you, Peter, for commissioning the upcoming film. Thank you, Chris, for commissioning Run Lola Run. Thank you to all the commissioners who make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own film. Find that information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next week for the following movie.
Terry's a girl who wanted to be taken seriously,
I am going to be a reporter.
but her body kept getting in the way.
Pretty girl, you could be a model.
Sometimes I just wish I were a guy.
No, you don't. The male body needs sex at all times. It's a living hell.
So to prove to the men in her life she had a mind, Terry decided to try life as a guy.
How do I look?
Dashing.
My zipper's open.
That was the dashing part.
What a fox. Dresses like Elvis Costello. Looks like the Karate Kid. I'm gonna get him.
Today's woman has the freedom to be just as sick and perverted as us guys.
She learned their secrets.
I have surprise jock inspections 3 times a week. A word to the wise.
And dated their women.
Yeah, but I got this one rule. I never go out with girls who say bitch.
Now the question is,
What's going on?
Wait, it gets better.
can a girl tell the boy she loves
Terry's such a stallion. Go on, show me your hairy chest.
she's not the man he thinks she is?
Wait a minute, are those what I think they are?
Yep, it's one of a kind. My bro.
Just one of the guys.
Just confused.
Of course you're confused. You're wearing my underwear.